I never thought an ordinary Monday morning would turn into the nightmare that it became. I walked into the office with my usual coffee in hand, feeling optimistic about the week ahead. Our team was gearing up for a major client presentation, and I was leading the project. I had spent countless late nights preparing, confident that my hard work would finally get the recognition I deserved. The hum of conversations and clicking keyboards felt like the usual rhythm of the place, until I noticed the uneasy glances exchanged between some of my coworkers. At first, I brushed it off, thinking maybe it was just the stress of the deadline. But as the day wore on, the whispers grew louder, and the smiles on faces that once seemed friendly felt forced. I caught snippets of conversations that abruptly stopped when I walked by, and I could swear I saw the sly grin of Greg, the guy who sat 2 desks away, someone I had always considered a professional ally. Something was off, and the pit in my stomach was telling me I was about to find out just how deep the deception ran. The first real blow came during lunch. I overheard my name in a conversation between 2 coworkers, but the tone was far from flattering. They were discussing the presentation as if I wasn't even leading it, claiming that another team member was the one behind the real work. My heart sank. I wanted to confront them immediately, but I knew that blowing up in the middle of the office would only make me look desperate. Instead, I kept quiet, deciding to gather evidence first. Back at my desk, I started noticing subtle changes. Emails I hadn't sent were being forwarded with critical comments attached. My ideas, which I had shared in meetings, were being credited to others. It felt like someone was systematically erasing my contributions and rewriting the story in their favor. The little moments of camaraderie I had once enjoyed with the team were now tinged with suspicion and coldness. I realized I was being isolated, and it was intentional. The person I suspected most was Lisa, the quiet woman who always seemed supportive but had a way of slipping in comments that undermined my confidence. She had been unusually close to Greg lately, and I noticed them exchanging knowing looks whenever I entered the room. I confronted her once, hoping to clear the air, but she deflected with a fake smile and vague reassurances. It felt like she was playing a game I wasn't invited to. As the week progressed, the atmosphere grew thicker with tension. My manager, who used to praise my work, started questioning my decisions during meetings, often siding with Greg's suggestions. I felt like I was losing ground, and the stress was starting to affect me physically. Sleepless nights and anxiety attacks became my new normal, all while pretending to be composed at work. The betrayal wasn't just professional, it was personal. Then came the day of the presentation. I had prepared meticulously, anticipating every question, every challenge. But when I arrived in the conference room, I found Greg already there, presenting the work as if it were his own. My mouth went dry. The client seemed impressed, and my manager nodded approvingly. I wanted to scream, to stand up and reclaim what was mine, but I was paralyzed by shock and humiliation. The betrayal was public now, and there was no hiding from it. After the presentation, I confronted Greg in the hallway. The look on his face was a mix of smug satisfaction and cold calculation. He didn't deny anything. Instead, he accused me of being too controlling and not a team player. It was like the script had flipped, and suddenly I was the problem. I wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding, but deep down I knew this was all part of a carefully orchestrated plan to push me out. Feeling utterly alone, I reached out to a few trusted colleagues, hoping to find allies. Some were sympathetic, but others seemed wary, afraid to get involved. It was painful realizing that the office politics had created an environment where loyalty was scarce and self-preservation was the norm. I started documenting everything: emails, conversations, incidents, anything that could prove the truth and protect me if things got worse. One late evening, as I was reviewing emails at my desk, I stumbled upon a message thread between Lisa and Greg. The tone was conspiratorial, discussing how to handle me and shift the blame for the project's bumps. My hands trembled as I read the calculated cruelty behind their words. This was beyond petty jealousy. It was a deliberate betrayal meant to destroy me. I knew I had to act carefully, or I would become collateral damage in their game. The next day, I scheduled a meeting with HR, hoping they would listen and take action. Sitting across from the HR manager, I laid out the evidence, my voice shaking but determined. She nodded thoughtfully, promising to look into the matter discreetly. It was a small relief, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The office was a battlefield, and I was in the crosshairs. Despite my efforts, the atmosphere didn't improve. If anything, the hostility intensified. I noticed subtle acts of sabotage, files missing from my computer, misleading information passed to me, even my coffee mysteriously replaced with decaf. It was surreal, like living in a thriller movie where everyone was an enemy. The betrayal had seeped into every corner of my work life, and I was struggling to keep my head above water. One afternoon, I caught Lisa whispering to another colleague just outside my cubicle. Their eyes darted to me nervously, and I could hear fragments about taking her down and ensuring she doesn't recover. It was chilling. The office wasn't just a place of work. It was a battlefield where alliances were fragile and enemies hid behind friendly faces. I felt like Alice falling down a rabbit hole, unsure if I'd find my way back to normalcy. In the midst of this chaos, I found unexpected support from Mark, a quiet IT technician who often helped me with computer issues. He listened without judgment and even helped me secure my files and emails. His steady presence was a small beacon of hope in an otherwise dark and confusing time. It reminded me that even in the most toxic environments, genuine kindness could survive. As the weeks dragged on, the emotional toll was undeniable. I found myself questioning my own abilities, wondering if I had somehow caused this betrayal. But every time doubt crept in, I reminded myself of the facts, the evidence, and the clear patterns of manipulation aimed at me. I wasn't crazy, I was a target. That realization was both terrifying and empowering. One morning, I arrived to find a nasty anonymous note slipped under my office door. It was crude and cruel, accusing me of being a liar and useless. It was the lowest point yet, a stark reminder that the betrayal extended beyond professional sabotage to personal attacks. I crumpled the note, but didn't let it break me. Instead, I steeled myself to fight back, no matter how hard or lonely the road ahead. Determined to reclaim my narrative, I started reaching out to higher management, requesting a formal review of the project and my role in it. The process was slow and bureaucratic, but I was careful to speak calmly and clearly, presenting my case with all the documentation I had gathered. Every meeting felt like walking a tightrope, balancing professionalism with the raw emotions simmering beneath the surface. Throughout this ordeal, I also grappled with the personal cost. Friends outside work noticed my exhaustion and mood swings, but I struggled to explain the complex web of office politics and betrayal. It was easier to say I was stressed than to reveal the painful truth, that people I trusted were actively working against me. The loneliness of carrying this secret was overwhelming. One day during a team meeting, Lisa made a pointed comment about needing reliable people and not everyone pulling their weight, a clear jab at me. The room fell silent, and I felt every eye on me. Instead of breaking, I met her gaze and calmly said, "If there are concerns, let's discuss them directly." The small act of standing my ground shifted something. I saw uncertainty flicker in her eyes, and for a moment, the power dynamic felt less lopsided. The tension in the office was palpable, but I wasn't going to be a victim anymore. I started networking more openly, rebuilding bridges with coworkers who had kept their distance. Slowly, people began to see the truth behind the rumors, recognizing the effort and dedication I had poured into the project. It was a small victory, but a necessary one for my sanity and self-worth. As the official review progressed, unexpected twists emerged. Some colleagues came forward anonymously to share what they knew about the sabotage and deceit. Their courage gave me renewed hope that justice might prevail. It also exposed the extent of the toxic culture that had allowed such betrayal to fester unchecked. Suddenly, the problem was bigger than just me, it was systemic. One evening, I stayed late in the office, going over notes and messages again, when Greg approached me with an uneasy smile. He muttered something about wanting to clear the air and move forward. I wasn't sure whether to trust him or suspect another trap, but I listened. His words were carefully chosen, admitting some mistakes, but deflecting full responsibility. It was a reminder that the lines between friend and foe were blurry, and forgiveness was complicated. The battle for my reputation and career was far from over, but I was no longer alone or silent. I had learned to navigate the treacherous waters of office politics with new eyes and a stronger heart. The betrayal had cut deep, but it also revealed my resilience and the importance of standing up for oneself, even when the whole world seems against you. Now each day feels like a new challenge. The smiles around me still sometimes hide secrets, and the whispers haven't completely stopped. But I'm ready for whatever comes next, armed with truth, support, and the determination to reclaim my place, not just in the office, but in my own story. The fight continues, and I'm not backing down.